for episode 19 of Commentator's Corner, and we have gone to my second home country. Of course, we returned to Germany, and I'm pleased to have alongside me a very, very good friend. You might know him as ELVINCO. I also know him as Vincent Gottwald. Herzlich willkommen, mein Freund, bei Commentator's Corner. Wie geht's dir?
Should I ask in German or English? What's better? Well, I guess for the audience, maybe it would be better to say thank you, Alex, for the invitation. And yeah, I'm fine. I'm great. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, how are you?
I'm all good. I had to do the German introduction there because that's normally when we're talking, if we're not speaking via English on WhatsApp, if it's a phone call, most of the time it's German anyway. But at least the good thing is our good friend, Mr. Yannick Hallstein, has interviewed me for the Sim Racing Buddies twice with Patrick. And I think the last episode we did, I was at Yannick's house in Braunschweig, and we did the complete episode in German. The previous one, I think 85%. Everyone was like thinking, "Holy crap, he can speak German!" Yes, but we met through the sim racing community. We've also worked alongside each other. But just introduce yourself to the folks at home and what you actually do with regards to sim racing, because you're not only just a wizard on the social media, because we've worked together on that, but you also are getting your hand in with regards to sim racing commentary, particularly in German.
Yeah, well, hello, I'm Vince, a 27-year-old Bavarian sim racer, so like would say. Yeah, like since Corona, which like the most of the people that have started to get into sim racing a bit. And after quite some time, I had one of the great, awesome opportunities, some pleasures, to also commentate some races starting in 21, I guess, with the Cupra Cup on Race Room.
Mm-hmm.
And then also had also the fun with you, Alex, together, where we were commentating the community trophy on the ADAC Sim Racing Expo 21. And since then, for me, I started also like some proper commentary on the regional leagues in German from Rennwelten, the Prime Series, which I like gone through now 3 seasons, and I really enjoy it. Commentary is like one of my very second sides of sim racing, besides being on the track myself. When I do endurance racing, LFM and this stuff, so I'm mainly on Assetto Corsa Competizione. So I'm not the iRacing fan, but yeah, one of my statements regarding simulations is every simulation had its pros and cons, and sim racing is love.
That's the whole thing. Sim racing is a community. We're here for each other. We go to LAN events. We end up on Discord servers. We have wonderful conversations as well. But Vincent, of course, Germany is one of the big homes of motorsports. Of course, I would imagine that you are a very, very big motorsport fan. Am I correct on that one, my friend?
Yes, not every racing season at least, but yeah, to the current GT3 stuff, DTM, which we all know, SRO, Formula One, and like every common things we know. Yeah, I would say yes.
So
Definitely.
I have to ask you a question, Vincent. How did you first find motorsport, and who was the person that helped that happen?
Like in my early years, like around about getting into the years of 15 years old, I started to getting more interested in cars. I was never like the one of the big in my childhood. I was never a huge fan of cars. I went when I was really small. I went to some karting tracks, which my dad told me I wasn't that bad. But then I got into GT3s, and they said, "Hey, these people like racing really great and doing some great stuff." So my first, I guess, some of the first expressions were with the Nordschleife, the 24-hour races around that topic. You find a lot of videos and this kind of stuff. So that's kind of started get me into it. And besides that, the virtual, like the sim racing stuff, which happened on YouTube from Assetto Corsa, where there was like this huge virtual racing 24 hours Nordschleife stuff, is like really old school now. And I really enjoyed this stuff. And I said, hey, I want also to try it. And yeah, like for example, one of these kind of content creators from Pixelhelden, Ray, like helped me to get into it. Or like he also made a lot of great content to it, and I could really enjoy the stuff and develop the love for sim racing itself. And so, I had some sim sport stuff, which made really fun, and I also find my love on the real life karting track. Was like 15 minutes from my home now, so I really could get into both things really fast, and this was like, yeah, that started the whole thing.
So you mentioned karting, a sport very, very close personally to my heart. Because of where you're based, what's the closest circuit to you with regards to karting? Is it somewhere like, say, Wackersdorf, or somewhere like that, possibly?
No, not really. Like the biggest name which could pop up is Amfing, because
Yes.
it's yeah, because that's the one of the better outdoor tracks. Like most of the people which I talked about it told about me that it's really great. I never been there before. I tried to get there, but time schedules are like, yeah, everybody knows what that means. And yeah, my own like personal track, which I like have the most experience, is in Eiselfing. It's like already told 15 minutes from here. It's like mostly indoor and some outdoor combinations, but it's a great track with a lot of nice corners, but it's not that you could like have great racing like compared to outside karting, because like the tracks are like lines are really small, so you have like, yeah, you just have to wait for blue flags. But it's still, every time it's a great opportunity. And for me, it's like also a good comparison between simulation driving and real driving, because it helps each other. Sometimes when I practice a kart, I had some experience which helped me in sim racing, and I could translate between like switch between both, and it was really great.
What was the first ever motorsport event? You said about the Nürburgring Nordschleife, of course, the ADAC 24 Hours of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, which for 2024 becomes officially part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli next year, and
Yeah.
has a new title sponsor, courtesy of Ravenol, which has sponsored Force India Racing Point over a number of years. So the Nordschleife was the first real true experience of, like, say, real life racing, apart from having gone to, like, say, karting. Was that the real true first experience? And can you remember who that was with? Was it with your dad? Was it with members of your family, or was it with friends as well?
It's a kind of split. Like when I developed my own experience, my own interest in it. It was really later, with this kind of mix between video content and like then you start searching on YouTube, and then like, yeah, what was there, what GT3s, and you find different videos, and then getting into this kind of stuff. And I had some earlier experiences where I watched together with my dad Formula One. I mean, in Germany, it's like one of the common biggest things with Michael Schumacher
Hmm.
back in the days, where he was like just nailing down everything, and he was a big name. And like, yeah, we Germans are easy like that. If you see a German driver in the front, everybody's like, "Woo, go for it." And
Yeah.
yeah, if your daddy is like sitting there in the living room and watching it, and yeah, Sunday, like it was like Sunday at 12 p.m. It was like this common time. You get up early just to watch the races. And yeah, like Michael Schumacher was one of the first big driver names also, which I come to know for me. And yeah, also developed some kind of interest for me, like to the all over topic of Formula One.
I remember when Michael Schumacher was still in his heyday. I mean, forget Benetton, it was the Ferrari days with the Cavallino Rampante, and I still remember Ross Brawn. Uh, he was in the pits. I think it was at the Red Bull Ring, and this is before it was the Red Bull Ring. It was the Ring, and they
Mm,
said we need 42 qualifying laps. And Michael went, okay, thank you, and went on and still got out in front of Mika Hakkinen back in those days when
yeah.
we used to have those great battles between Hakkinen, between Schumacher. We did at one point have a certain peroxide blonde Jacques Villeneuve in the the mid 1990s when he was with Williams at that point. Um, Now, sim racing, you and I have been a part of it for, I think you've probably been a part of it longer than I have. I mean, I've been part of the sim racing community now for, I think, just over coming up to 3.5 years later on this year. But it is a community that has its good points, but it also does have its bad points as well, because there's some great content creators out there, like say Mabix, who is one of the most HC Dizzy, two of the most
Yeah.
prominent German sim racing content creators out there. Lukas Niederscheider is another one. I knew he was a racer in real life, but until the Sim Racing Expo in the Nuremberg Messe last year, I didn't realize he was incredibly passionate about his sim racing. Your experiences of sim racing when it comes to the positive side, who really has sort of helped you to follow your passion and be in a space where you feel comfortable? Who have those people been? And they will have obviously over time, like you and I have become good friends, and we talk on a regular basis, whether it be on a WhatsApp phone call, a Discord server, or if you're meeting in person at an event when everyone's having the opportunity now to sort of mingle and be face to face rather than having technology in the way.
Ooh, good question. Not that easy to answer, to be honest. Yeah, sim racing is still and experienced in the last years, in the German scene at least, I would say, a huge development. Communities went up. There were like a few years ago before LFM some different kind of communities where you get to know a lot of people. But yeah, for me, I wasn't really stick to one specifically. I really in sim racing specifically, I switched between a lot of communities besides side to side. Never really stick to one. I had some friends regarding to the Forza scene, where I since beginning of Forza Horizon 4, I'm in touch with them. We had a lot of discussions, a lot of different great talks, and different competitions run about the topic of motorsport and competitioning, which I would say this was some kind of persons which like yeah, went with me these couple of years, also through sim racing experiences. But also some names which specifically in sim racing helped me to develop my skills a lot. And I had a lot of different chats. For example, the guys from Unicorns of Love, Basti, Niklas, Rene, these different kind of people. I had also some races with them, and gave also me every time when I needed some help or some feedback. I get it from them. They're really great guys. And yeah, right now for me, I also have the big Rennsport community also, where we like also have a lot of fun and different kind of talks. And yeah, but it's really not really only one, but a lot of different kind of people now, since like still in the sim racing, a lot of people content creator, like different communities are coming up or popping up because like it's still growing, and which we have to say LFM had a big impact to it. But yeah, I would say it's really not only really specific one at least.
I think also you have to look at some of the, and we're not just talking about communities, we're talking about organizations, we're talking about software development. The biggest developments coming out of Munich, especially, we have to talk about Florian Hasper at VCO Esports, and then we have to talk about Morris Herbecker and the team at Rennsport, who have now joined forces with ESL Faceit Group to bring ESL R1, which has had a very, very exciting spring season. They've also had the ESL R1 Gamers 8 in Saudi Arabia. That just goes to show that you have two very, very different individuals who want to make sim racing very, very different. I mean, first of all, VCO Esports, the ERWC, the Esports Racing World Cup, now has had its second running. They had the Pro Sim series. They did what was it? They did the Pro Sim Infinity, where it went 24 races in 24 hours. And then we see ESL R1, where you've got the top teams. You've got BS Competition, Team Redline, Porsche Coanda, Apex, Williams Esports, Mercedes AMG. I mean, those two entities have really pushed. I don't just think just the sim racing side from Germany, but I think from a global perspective, they've really tried to shake things up, haven't they?
Yeah, they tried. I mean, Rennsport was one of the biggest hopes for the whole scene. Like, hey, there's a huge manufacturer behind it, and there are opportunities. If there are, I mean, they were obviously doing right things. They had a lot of feedback from the community. They were asking and talking with the community, and ESL R1, yeah, a lot of people in the community have a split opinion on it. I mean, you can say yes, it is an attempt to get a new level of professionality into sim racing. But also there is the question, is it worth it? Because the money around it, like in overall 1 million of prize money is like there are huge numbers, but is it worth it with regarding the numbers of people watching it? Because sim racing, I mean, you also can refer to that maybe. It's not that big as the common motorsport, which has like a huger part of numbers. So it's really interesting to see where this will go in the couple of next years and futures. Also with the development of different simulations. And the attempt is great. There is the attempt to make sim racing grow, and I love to see it. But there's for me it's still the question. Okay, but does it work with this kind of attempt or system? Because on some steps during the journey of R1, I even question myself, what are the guys trying to do? What the guys thinking? What is the plan? Because at some point, I wasn't thinking that they will have make too much thought about it. There were some different kind of issues.
Yeah, I think with regards to any new attempt, I think we both know from experience that you're not going to please everybody. There are
Yes.
always going to be there's going to be some toxicity thrown at it. There's going to be those people who think, well, yeah, okay, it's great because they're actively requesting for people to give feedback. And when they did, the opener for the spring season in Katowice at the IEM Masters earlier on this year, they then had to make a decision, like because the closed beta was due to launch, and they went, well, we want to, they'd had consistent development with the teams, with the drivers. When you look at Marcel Chinchik, Max Benecke, Niels Noyox, James Baldwin, we could go through the list of names that are part of the current the rosters from respective teams that have been on Rennsport at the moment, and they decided they thought that the idea of slightly delaying, and I can understand their thought process behind it because the product was still being developed. There was no damage model. The physics they wanted to get as close as possible. Of course, there has been people getting closed beta keys. When I finally get a PC, I will try and get one myself. And when I got a sim rig up and running, I don't know when that's going to be, but hopefully in the not too distant future, I might have to sort of pick up the bat phone and start calling a few people saying, "You remember I did this for you? I need a favour," and I'll make some. It'll be like a content for favour exchange, But a lot of people got out of their prams. They were very unhappy. But I think that the due diligence from Moritz Hebecker and the team at Rennsport in Munich decided, well, we need to test this in this kind of situation. So I can understand it from a developer understanding, because when you're developing a product, it's a bit like the auto industry. When you've got a new car that you're testing and you're putting it through the ringer, like say all these electric vehicles that are now coming out from like BMW, Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, doesn't matter, and even from the Orients, they want to make sure that it can handle the loads of a lot of impact, because what a lot of people sometimes, I don't think it's the case that they forget about it. They put it to one side. The hardware that's going to be set up, the infrastructure, the servers. There's so much technicality that they thought, well, let's put ESL R1 into full motion and then release the closed beta. I think it was a double-edged sword, wasn't it, Vincent? Where people were like not happy, but then there were people that could understand it, wasn't there? It was a two-sided argument.
Yeah. On first part, I totally agree. I'm a fan of, if we're not finished with the product or the game, delay it. I'm a fan of that because everybody hates a release with shitty issues, bugs, everything. And to be honest, it's a current big issue in the scene because a lot of games getting released and having a lot of bugs, issues, and bad performances. I totally a fan of that, and I already said on the beginning where Esports was like, yeah, we take our time, and I said, hey, that's good. At least they take the time, they take the feedback. It was a good first. It is still a good impression of it, and where the sword comes in is the part. Hey, we have like it's only a esports competition now, so they're showing some racing, which was like on the beginning really great, but like there were some incidents where we were like, okay, guys, now it's like a bit too much.
Yes.
Could we like get back to the real proper racing where it like makes sense and is great and not like this? Yes, are you gonna just hit the corner just for to get a point? Brain FK moves. I guess a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, and which also was great to see that in Rennsport. It was really great racing, so racing side by side. You can have some of the bumps on the sides. Really awesome stuff there. Really love that. But the audience is like sitting there and like, yeah, cool. Because nobody can really relate. I think that's one of the issues on iRacing, on ACT. Everybody is like already gained experience on their own. They know how hard it is to sweat the lap times and how hard it is to drive, how impressive the racing is when they put in the proper great lap times. And right now in Rennsport, nobody does that. They just see big names in racing, but they can refer to that on their own experience, which I think is a big issue to the community. And we are like, I don't know, are we now don't have Rennsport now running 1 year at least, officially with content?
To be honest with
I
you,
guess it's
I think it's probably been about just over six months since the closed beta was released, because they did that shortly after Katowice. I think it was probably about a month or so, and then there were people. They were like saying, "Who wants a closed beta key?" And that was one of that. That was what I have to give Moritz Hebecker and the team at Rennsport all the kudos in the world for saying, like they developed an app. And for those wondering, which I do have the Rennsport app on my phone, that the good thing is that on the Rennsport app, you know, they're giving you updates. So here is the Rennsport app on my iPhone, where it's talking about like game updates, patch notes, and it was the 6th of June, which is literally was 2 months ago, just over 2 months ago since they started, and they were going on socials. They were like going, "Who wants a closed beta key? Like, we're giving 15 away." And I think the way that they've done it is to sort of like say, you've had to wait for this. Like, we want to make sure it is right. And they're bringing like like they're doing like short reels or videos on, like, say, X or Twitter. I'm still going to call it Twitter. I don't care. Elon Musk, shut your yap. Just because you want it to relate to SpaceX and Tesla, I don't really give a crap. That's my personal, honest opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree.
There's my two. There's my two Deutschmarks on that one. When it comes to my two Deutschmarks on that one, they probably are worth about 2 cents in comparison with the old currency, with what Germany now has, because it's part of the euro. But as I digress there slightly. But I have to, sometimes it's good to bring a little bit of laughter into a conversation. But I think the way that they went about saying to the community, right, here it is, get in touch with us. They were opening themselves up to the community, saying, look, we know you've had to wait for it. Let us know if you want a closed beta key. And the amount of response they got on social media went near enough viral. they've now started. I think Rennsport, when Moritz Hebecker has been interviewed, he said it is about mods. So very much Rennsport is a newer version in some respects, but it's developed to the nth degree with the Unreal Engine. That Automobilista 2, which I had the pleasure of driving a stock car Pro Series car in Goiânia, I could understand that bringing mods into it, where you've now got the Praga Cup car, you've got an LMP3 about to hit, you've got new tracks that are due to come in, you've got new cars that are due to come in. I think Rennsport are going about saying, look, we know you've had to wait. Community, here you go. Let's see how the community responds. And I think the main response to Rennsport, now that closed beta keys are coming up, they now know that, right, okay, we've got to work with this ongoing scale of development. You know, like say with Kuno Simulazione, with ACC, with Aris, everything that's going on at iRacing, they're due to launch some new GTPs or LMDHs very, very soon. R Factor 2, I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. But, you know, ACC, Rennsport, iRacing, Assetto Corsa is heavily modded these days. You know, you're seeing everything from a Ford KA to a prototype.
Still in modding, by the way. Still. Like, how old is this game? And it's still running. It's still crashing the numbers.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a self-runner. It's, yeah, with AC, they did it. Like, just they did it.
Yeah. But I think, but moving on from Rennsport and talking about how they've moved on from ESL R1, Vincent, I've got a couple of questions that I normally ask all my guests, so don't worry. But,
Okay.
So, being a caster or a commentator in sim racing, what would you say, like having watched other motorsports such as DTM, Formula One, are there any particular people within casting or commentary that you see that you look up to for inspiration on how you are as a commentator? Or are there any people that stick in your mind in particular?
I'm not that huge into the whole commentator scene. I don't know many people, but these people which I know of, which I enjoy hearing their commentary, yes, this would be you and Luke.
A shout out for Actual Vision. Happy days. So, and Luke has been a previous guest on that. No, that's really, really cool. I really do. You're the second person that's mentioned me. We had it in the previous episode with my good friend Rob Lewis. So that means a lot for you to say something like that, where you enjoy listening to people. And I mean, we're going to come towards the end of the show anyway, because it's been busy times. You've got a race this evening with the Moser Challenge. Shout out to Dan, Terry, Adam, Ely, and Thomas and all the team there at SGP. They do a fantastic job with all these leagues. Right. I'm going to ask, from what you've watched in motorsport over the years, like say Formula One, DTM, can you name for me the first three moments that you remember like it was yesterday, of moments that you will never forget in racing?
One, the Mante Porsche grass overtake on the Döttinger Höhe.
Oh, yes, I remember that one.
Yeah,
that
was like one.
Wasn't that that was Kevin Estre? That was Kevin Estre, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't remember the name. One of the moments where I was like, okay, we got it. That you want to say, like, okay, we. This is one of these kind of ironic motorsport moments when you don't need to say that you're on a hurry. You just show it that you're on a hurry. This is like one unique moment. I will also never forget. Also, one is the incident of Silverstone between Hamilton and Verstappen.
Going
Because
into
this was
Cop's Corner.
Yes, because this is for me first thing how dangerous Formula One can be, but how secure also that he went out and it's nothing. But also the sign that how important it is the racing. I mean, this incident is already something like with different opinions who's wrong. For me, to be honest, it was Hamilton because he had the inside line and he had also to be have. In my opinion, there was like enough space for him and the opportunity to give Max a bit more space. And
Yeah.
also, you need to know on which kind of situations you have to back off a bit. But yeah, this is also these kind of behaviors. If you're side by side, take a look on each other, be careful, like some kind of learning for mindsets. And do I have another? I guess there are many more to come, but when it's about motorsport, one thing I will never forget is Ayrton Senna Monza slap in his Formula One car. How he was like going on the throttle is like on off. This nin, 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 nin. This was like this ironic technique. It was so different, but it's still so interesting to watch. Which like if you like on your own opinion, you want to learn more, to learn different kind of aspects in motorsports. This was one of the great learnings or like different kind of experiences which I made. Hey, look, there's something whole different in the history, and was really great for me also to experience.
Cool. Okay. Letzte Frage. Final question. If you had no budget, okay, so no glass ceiling, you could pick from a road car and a race car. Firstly, which would you choose? I have given on previous occasions guests multiple choices, like I did last time with Rob Lewis and also with Daniel Gilligan, where we got a big old McLaren saga because he is a big McLaren F1 fan. So, no budget, which car, race or road car would you choose? And which circuit would you go on with that car?
Yeah, to be honest, this one thing. I'm a Mercedes fanboy, so definitely the GT3 and Nordschleife. It's nothing more iconic, nothing more special, nothing bigger as this track, to be honest. And this would be one of the dream combinations, to be honest. Yes.
Okay. So you said the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo at the famed Green Hell, so named by Sir Jackie Stewart, three-time Formula One world champion. It was also the place in 1976 where the late Niki Lauda nearly lost his life in that fireball incident during what was a very, very difficult year for him, where he lost the title, I think, if I remember correctly, to James Hunt and came back to win it. I'm going to say the same circuit, but we are going to stick with Mercedes. So you've gone with the talisman of Affalterbach when it comes to GT3 racing. I'm going to go with the talisman of the road car division. I'm not talking about the newly released next gen GT that has just been announced, courtesy of Naomi Schiff and Lewis Hamilton being part of the Mercedes-Benz YouTube channel for announcing it. But we're going to go with the car that has a 1.6 litre V6 turbo hybrid engine straight from the AMG stables at Brixworth. It is, of course, the Mercedes AMG 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely also cool stuff.
Exactly. Vincent,
Yeah.
thank you very much, buddy. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Where can people find you on socials?
Well, yeah, on X. There you can find me under ELVINCO, like Mr. ELVINCO, MR, no dot between it, and on Instagram, which is like not really active. Just also Vinco 1337. But mostly, if you want to see something sim racing related stuff, go onto Twitch, ELVINCO. There you will find me, and yeah, there we can have a fun time and maybe complain about slow cars on the straights.
doing the old Sebastian blue flags, or talking about ping pong. The links for Vincent's social media will be down in the description below. Don't forget, you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now on Amazon Music and Google Podcasts. Vincent, I'm looking forward to hopefully catching up with you very, very soon in person. Thank you very much, buddy, for being part of the show today.
Thanks for the invite. I wish you a great day, Alex, and to everyone who's listening or watching it. Have a great day. Love to you all, and see ya.
Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you very much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. We'll see you very, very soon for episode 20. Yes, 20 guests, and there's more to come here on Commentator's Corner. And we'll see you next time.